On the wedding day, Ethan publicly called off the marriage. He said, "I never wanted to get married in the first place, but Sophia used despicable tactics to force me, which is why I had to stand here." After speaking, he grabbed Rachel's hand and ran out. Despicable tactics? Does that refer to the child in my belly? But this child was his decision to keep. In that case, I snatched the microphone from the emcee's hand and announced the cancellation of the wedding. At the same time, I scheduled an abortion surgery for tomorrow and an online divorce. Additionally, I arranged for a transfer order to the overseas company. At that moment, my mother cautiously approached. "Ethan told me it was just a joke with you. Why did you take it seriously? Quickly say that the wedding isn't cancelled, just postponed to another day." Honestly, my mother's words broke my defenses more than Ethan's actions. I really wanted to crack open her head and see what was inside. She seemed to have forgotten that 20 years ago, Rachel's mother had stolen my father in the same way. The daughter of the woman she had cursed as a mistress for 20 years had now ruined my wedding with my husband, yet she said it was just a joke. I remained silent for too long, and my mother started to get anxious. "Hurry up and say it, don't make it hard to wrap up later." She pushed me forcefully, disregarding that I was wearing 10 centimeters high heels and that there was a child in my belly. She was only eager to complete the task Ethan had assigned her. Yesterday, when I went to deliver medicine to her, I overheard Ethan calling her. "Sophia has a bad personality, we need to temper her temperament before the wedding, so we're playing a little joke on her. As long as she accepts it, I'll take care of Jason's job." "That's great, Sophia listens to me the most. But Ethan, don't go too far, tomorrow is a major life event after all." "It's nothing, I just want to escape the wedding." Escape the wedding?" "Yes, with Rachel." I was right at the door of the room and heard my mother hesitantly say, Sophia and Rachel have a very bad relationship." "Ethan, Mom isn't opposing it. It's just that if Sophia makes a fuss, Mom is afraid it won't end well." Ethan said nothing, and my mother convinced herself. "Forget it, Mom will just say you're joking then." "Ethan, Mom has only this one daughter, you'll have to coax her well afterward." Ethan's light chuckle was particularly clear, as if it was some kind of reward for my mother. Her voice became cheerful, "And about Jason's job, please take care of it." "All right, then I'll trouble Mom." No trouble at all. This was already the umpteenth time I had been backstabbed by my mother. But this time I thought she would at least consider me. She always said, the wedding is the top priority. So, even after Ethan and I got the marriage certificate, it wasn't enough, she urged us to hold a grand wedding. For this wedding, from the decorations to the MC to the beverage menu, my mother handled everything personally. It was impossible for her to ruin my wedding and her own efforts just for Jason. I still held a sliver of hope in my heart, enduring until the wedding, enduring until I became a clown under everyone's gaze. It was really pointless. If I had known, I would have gone to a company meeting instead. "Sophia, hurry up and say it, Mom begs you." "Why?" I looked at her calmly, watching her eyes fill with tears, watching her clutch her chest with a twisted face. I no longer felt any pity for her. "Mom is doing this for your own good, you already have Ethan's child. Just muddle through today, and in a couple of days when everyone forgets, we can hold another one, isn't it the same?" "Is it for me, or for Jason?" "Well, of course it's not for Jason, what does it have to do with Jason?" I smiled and slowly removed my veil, took off my gloves, and the 10 centimeters high heels. The shoes were also prepared by my mother. She only cared about making me look good to give her face, forgetting that my body wasn't actually suited for such high heels. But I still wore them. I used this wedding to harden my heart, and after that, no one could become my weakness. "Mom, I've always wanted to ask you, when will you truly feel sorry for me? Not just nice words from your mouth, but really feeling sorry for me, pitying me, and empathizing to love me?" I looked at her puzzled eyes and pityingly told her, "From now on, I won't take care of you anymore." 20 years ago, my father succeeded in his business venture, made a fortune, and immediately abandoned me and my mother to marry Rachel's mother, Irene. Right after their divorce, my mother cried her eyes out countless nights, becoming emaciated in just a few days. That year, I was 8 years old. I clumsily cooked a bowl of noodles and brought it to her. I said, "Mom, without Dad, there's still me, I'll protect you." I fulfilled this promise for 20 years. Under my protection, my mother never worked a single day. I got up at 5 a.m. to make her breakfast, iron her clothes, and then deliver newspapers for others. At school, I survived on dry steamed buns and others' leftovers to save on stationery fees. During every break, I rummaged through trash bins for leftover pencil stubs or erasers with a bit left. In the evenings, I didn't rush home. I collected school paper boxes and water bottles, carried them to the scrap station to sell. My grandmother felt sorry for me and asked my mother, "How can you bear to watch such a young child do so much work?" My mother would cry, and her crying made my heart ache. I said, "Grandma, I'm not tired, I have plenty of energy to spare." My grandmother left some money for living expenses, and I gave it all to my mother. She was still competing with Irene in her heart, wanting to wear beautiful clothes and buy fashionable cosmetics. I always felt that I could live poorly, but my mother couldn't. Not having a father was no big deal. I could shield my mother from wind and rain. But alas, my mother didn't trust me. When I entered junior high, Rachel and I became classmates. She spread rumors everywhere that I didn't bathe, loved to steal, and was promiscuous in relationships. I laughed it off. After all, I had to work and study. I had to shoulder the responsibility and lead my mother to live better than her mother. But then she said my mother was a rustic auntie, an uncultured ugly hag, a temperamental old witch. Classmates laughed and even came to my house specifically to see the old woman Rachel described. That day, I grabbed a broom and drove them out. For a whole week, I punctured Rachel's bicycle tires every day, stuck chewing gum in her hair, and threw her backpack into a stinky ditch. I did it openly, and when caught, I shouted, "Her mom is a mistress, and she has the nerve to talk about my mom. If she doesn't apologize to my mom, I'll never apologize to her." This was a difficult case to judge. Even the teachers, after learning about our grudge, emotionally sided with me. Rachel and I stood on opposite sides. She held back tears, aggrievedly hiding behind her mother, while I held my head high, standing in front of my mother. My father frowned. "May, is this how you discipline the child?" My mother slapped me and blamed everything on me. "How can you be so senseless, child? Hurry up and apologize to them." I thought I was the great general protecting my mother, but that slap turned me into a crawling insect. I apologized with a flushed face, shaking off my shattered dignity. Rachel looked at me contemptuously. From that day on, she was convinced that bullying me came at no cost. Fortunately, I was still the unbeatable general, fighting back and forth in her curses and bullying. The only difference was that her mother would seek justice for her, while my mother would give me a slap. So in the end, she still won. Just like now, she took away my husband at my wedding, and my mother demanded that I clean up the mess. She won again, but I also won. I won because I was finally discarding my mother as my weakness. And now, my counterattack was about to begin. My mother grabbed me. "Sophia, what do you mean by not taking care of Mom? Mom is doing this for your own good. Just listen to Mom and smooth things over. Ethan is a boy, the one losing face is you. How did you become so senseless? Could Mom harm you?" The taxi I called arrived at the door just then, and I broke free from her hand. "Isn't it? Mom, yesterday when you were on the phone with Ethan, I was standing at the door. The people harming me are Ethan and Rachel, and you, Mom." Her face instantly turned pale, with a flash of anger at being exposed. She simply stopped pretending. "Why pretend not to know and make me beg you for so long? You know Jason has trouble finding a job. As long as you cooperate in this act, it can be done. Then your Uncle Victor and Jason will treat me better. In the end, it's your fault. If you weren't unwilling to help, would I need to go to Ethan? That kid is just playful but kind-hearted. Unlike you, who says everything is for me but refuses to do a favor when asked." She became more self-righteous as she spoke, but I didn't want to play along anymore. Mom, when will you understand that your current life is provided by me, not those two useless men? On the contrary, because I love you and am generous to you, I was willing to support them to make you happy. Your most valuable asset is me, your daughter, not anyone else. You don't believe it? We'll see. No, you can't leave. What about Jason's job? How will I explain it to him when I go back? I left her crying behind me. Let her clean up that mess. After thinking, I first turned off the intimate payment, cancelled the automatic deductions for water, electricity, and property fees at their current residence. I returned the gifts I bought for her, though I knew most were requested by that father-son pair in her name. 2 years ago, my mother married Jason's father. Although I thought that man, apart from his profession as an elementary school teacher being presentable, was lousy in every other aspect. He was sloppy and hated doing housework, earned little but had high ambitions. He liked smoking, drinking, and bragging. When eating out, he pretended to be generous, but when it came to paying, he played dead. Jason was even worse, dumb, poor grades, ugly, inheriting all his father's flaws. But they were lucky to have met my mother. I didn't like them, but my mother did. I was busy with work and had no time to accompany her, so I simply supported that father-son pair to keep her entertained. They lived in the large apartment I bought, served by a nanny I paid, living glamorously. Their appetites grew, and they actually asked me to find Jason a job with great power, high salary, and little work. What if I say no? I sat on the sofa, and the father-son pair looked ashen. My mother, however, jumped around anxiously. It's just a job, why do you have to make trouble? Your Uncle Victor rarely asks for your help, being so unfeeling, how will he see me? I still didn't agree, so she turned to Ethan. Even though she knew I never considered that father-son pair as family, and even felt ashamed that my mother lived with them. She never cared about my feelings, from childhood to adulthood, always like this. Back at the company, I immediately changed clothes. After handling work matters, I went to find Ethan. Speaking of which, Ethan and I met at a university debate competition. During the match, we were at each other's throats, but after it ended, he gave me a candy. I saw you cry. And your nose was running. I was a bit embarrassed, and he smiled, saying, "Very cute." The topic of that debate was about hurts during the growth process. I couldn't help but recall the pain when Rachel led the bullying against me. They always said Sophia was fierce. When bullied, she not only wouldn't cry but would hold a grudge and retaliate next time. But I'm not Iron Man. I feel pain. When locked in the toilet, I was scared. When splashed with water, I felt cold. When slandered, I hoped someone would firmly believe me. Of course, all this couldn't compare to my mother slapping me when she knew I was bullied, and pressing my neck to force me to bow and apologize. Others' mocking or sympathetic looks shattered my self-esteem time and again. It's not that I couldn't cry, but I didn't dare cry in front of people. Later, I told all this to Ethan, and he said he would share my enmity. My enemies were his enemies. Rachel didn't get into university that year. My father sent money and used connections to buy her a position at Ethan's company. When he found out, he reported it without hesitation, proving with actions that he would stand with me. Because of this, I got the certificate with him. He might not know that originally, in my life plan, there was no option for marriage. Ethan was drinking at a club opened by his brother, with Rachel by his side. When they saw me arrive, everyone showed ambiguous smiles. Rachel stood up, her face full of provocation. "How do you have the face to come here?" "Oh, I get it. You used pregnancy to force brother Ethan to marry you, and now you're using pregnancy to force him to go back with you, right?" "Sorry, brother Ethan said you're boring and a country bumpkin, he doesn't like you." I asked Ethan, "Didn't you tell her we got the certificate long ago?" He lifted his eyelids but said nothing. "All right then, since you don't want to say it, I won't force you. Tomorrow, come with me to get the divorce certificate, I've already scheduled it." He gritted his teeth and squeezed out, "Are you threatening me?" "It's not a threat, it's notification. Don't forget you're still pregnant." "I haven't forgotten, I'll abort it." "Do you have a heart?" He suddenly got angry, picked up a bottle of liquor, and smashed it. Rachel let out a scream. Sophia, apologize quickly. Look what you've done to brother Ethan. You're done, I tell you. I'll tell your mom right now. When apologies don't work, you'll have to kneel and kowtow. Brother Ethan, wait, I'll call her mom to deal with her. Ethan suddenly let out a cold laugh. Sophia, I'll forgive you this time, don't say such angry words next time. I looked at him coldly. He was slandering me. I never sought temporary verbal victories. What I said was serious. He stared back defiantly. Rachel got anxious. Brother Ethan, how could you be confused and get the certificate with her? How does she compare to me? Sophia, don't think getting the certificate means everything is settled. Shut up. Ethan and I said this together. Rachel pouted, about to cry. Ethan added, very ugly. You, brother Ethan, what spell did she cast on you? Didn't you say yesterday you wanted to teach her a lesson? I sighed. Ethan, although I won't forgive you, I want to know the reason. I think I'm better than my mom. I don't want to admit that my taste in men is as bad as hers. What do you say? What do I say? I couldn't think of it. I couldn't imagine why he would treat me like this, embarrassing me so. There was affection between us, even his child was in my belly. His actions not only made me lose face completely, but if our child were born, today's scandals would accompany him for life. Seeing me motionless, he let out another cold laugh. Before he could speak, Rachel answered for him. Of course it's for me. Back then, brother Ethan was deceived by you, got the company to fire me, making me lose face. Now, naturally, he has to compensate me and make you lose face too. Sophia, admit it, your mom can't compare to mine, and you can't compare to me. You're destined to be stepped on by me. I looked at her smug face, showing none of the grief she expected. I just calmly told her, impossible. How do you know it's impossible? Ask brother Ethan, it's for me. Ask everyone here, who would like someone like you, grown up in a single-parent family, fierce and irritable, with no femininity, a tomboy. You don't know, do you? Sophia didn't bathe in school, she stank. Her laughter was shrill and piercing. When she found no one laughing along, she felt at a loss. Only I applauded her. I looked at Ethan mockingly. He was born into a well-off family, had smooth academics, a successful career, and valued face the most. His brothers were the same. No matter how vile inside, they considered themselves civilized and never attacked others' family background, personality, or appearance in public. Because that would show a lack of propriety and upbringing, and reveal their own shortcomings, nitpicking on defects others couldn't choose. In short, it was an aggressive form of inferiority. He furrowed his brows, obviously starting to feel embarrassed. He said to Rachel, you go back. Go back? Rachel was clearly unwilling. She thought if she left and I didn't, it meant she lost. But no one in the room spoke for her, they all looked at her coldly and distantly. Even a fool would know it was time to move. She still asked unwillingly, brother Ethan, what about me? Will you marry me or keep me? I'm very obedient and know many tricks. Pfft. Someone couldn't hold it and burst out. Ethan's face turned completely black. What are you? I just asked you to act in a play, didn't I transfer you 20,000 yuan? You. Sophia. Don't be smug, I'll call your dad to deal with you. I didn't even lift an eyelid. Please do. In the end, she ran out crying. Ethan looked at me for a long time and said, you really have no feelings. I didn't know where this came from. He continued, today's incident is still your fault. I don't understand why you, being pregnant, still competed with me for the Haiching project. Didn't I tell you that any bonuses I get would be yours? Do you care so much about the title of project leader? You know, that day when I saw you sign the contract, how my brothers mocked me, saying you'd handle the outside while I handle the inside, and that I'd rely on you to support me. What a joke. He smashed a glass, and the shards splashed up, cutting my ankle, causing a sting of pain. just because of the Haichung project? Of course, not only that. Why do you have to outdo me everywhere? Isn't it good to let me support you? Do you feel proud making me lose face and be ridiculed? I'd queue for 3 hours to buy you cake. What about you? What have you done? Don't blame me for today's incident. I just wanted to dull your edge, to tell you that if you don't care about my feelings, I won't care about yours either. In this family, I still have the final say. Seeing me silent, his tone softened. I hope you can learn to be a good wife and mother, someone I can show off in social occasions. After all, a man's face is more important than life. During this time, focus on your pregnancy. If you want to work, you can switch to a clerical position. If not, stay home, I can support you. I love you very much, Sophia. So, is your face something others have to yield to you? Ethan, I'm different from you. I came from a small mountain village, relying on pirated study guides and endless practice questions to get into the same university as you. While you were learning piano, taekwondo, and speech, I was working. From age 8, I supported my mom. When I went to university, I didn't take a penny for tuition and sent money home every month. When you started working, your resume had a long list of awards. I had nothing. The most presentable experience was tutoring. Even so, I entered the same excellent company in the industry as you, keeping the same promotion pace. But you know, women in our industry inherently have disadvantages. To reach the same position as you, I put in more effort and heart than you. You say I haven't sacrificed for you? Isn't being willing to get pregnant the biggest sacrifice? Pregnancy means my promotion speed slows or stops. My career will certainly be severely impacted. Compared to my sacrifices, what is your 3-hour queue? I looked at him and firmly told him. I'm glad I competed with you for the Haichung project before this child was born, before I was tied down by child and family. I'll abort the child and compete with you for more projects. I won't stop, won't be anyone's full-time wife. I'll defeat you time and again, stepping on your face, reaching peaks you'll never climb. His face turned ashen, staring at me fixedly, then suddenly letting out a cold laugh. On your 3rd day at work, your mom went to your company, planning to ask your leader for an advance on your salary. I stopped her. Last June, when you stayed up late for promotion, your stepfather was seeking connections for his title evaluation. I didn't want her to disturb you, so I used my parents' connections. They were very dissatisfied with you. Everyone laughed at me for marrying a burden. When you had gastroenteritis and were on 4, I accompanied you without blinking. Sophia, was I wrong to say you have no heart? What's the use of saying these grand words to me? The fact is, without me, your career wouldn't be so smooth, and you couldn't hold your head high like this, acting all great and successful. I bit my lip tightly. What he said were indeed things I didn't know, and I had no doubt, given my mother's character, she wouldn't care about my image or dignity, using and hurting me repeatedly for unimportant people. But why didn't you tell me? Tell you? He raised his voice. Tell you what? You have to manage your mom and fight for your career. You don't care about your health. Only I serve you diligently. But you can't even take care of yourself. How can you take care of me? Sophia. I think I've sacrificed much more than you. Is it wrong to want a bit more say? I just hope you won't be so competitive. Give me some face. Is that wrong? I hope you know you're a pregnant woman, should consciously reduce workload, allocate more energy to child and family. Is that wrong? I was wrong today, but you forced me. He coldly concluded. I looked at his already red eyes, full of sorrow. Ethan, you had countless opportunities to communicate with me, but you said nothing. You say you want more say, so I can't have the right to know? You convict me with things I don't know, and complete my trial on the wedding day. In your eyes, who am I? Your wife? Or a prisoner without personality? He sneered. You don't need to say these to me, because you have no other choice. I just hope you know what to do in the future. Why not? I can abort the child, we divorce, I can go abroad, cut ties with everything here. Go abroad. He savored these words and looked at me again. Try it. Do you know why you got pregnant? your mom poked holes in our condoms. Even your mom doesn't love you, only I treat you as treasure. You can tolerate whatever your mom does, I made one mistake, and you want to divorce me. I don't know if it's you or me who's pathetic. He still had a sneering expression, shaking his phone. One call to my mom would control me. So he was full of confidence. I said nothing, not wanting more trouble. I dragged my steps out, one by one. Too tired. The next day, while preparing for surgery, I received my mom's call. I hung up. Then Ethan's call, have you thought it through? Yes. Alright, I've scheduled to talk with the wedding company this afternoon about details. I plan to hold another one next month. I'm not available. 2 nurses approached me, it was my turn. What are you doing? Having surgery. A roar burst from the phone. Sophia, if something happens to the child, we're completely done. Sophia, listen, I was wrong, terribly wrong, but don't be impulsive. Which hospital are you at? I'll come now. Punish me however you want, but the child is our hope, innocent, don't harm the child. His speech quickened, ending with a hint of sobbing. Seeing no answer, he viciously said, Sophia, are you even human? The anesthetic slowly flowed into my body, and my thoughts seemed to return to high school. Back then, due to malnutrition, every period was excruciating, but I couldn't tell others. My grandparents were dead. Every time I told my mom, she indifferently asked, what do you want me to do? I can't feel the pain for you. Actually, I wanted to say, pour me a cup of hot water, buy me painkillers, if it's troublesome, then forget it. But I said nothing. She said, rest well, and ignored me. But soon, she'd come in, waking me who had finally fallen asleep. When will your work wages be paid? Can you advance them? I need money urgently. I softly told her, can't advance, and that's my tuition. She slammed the door and left. Later I learned, whenever she had no money for cards, she'd ask me first. When I couldn't give much, she'd go to my dad, the ex-husband who abandoned her. Advancing my child support. Because he found her troublesome and the amount small, my child support was advanced until I was 20. It's funny, later, after I graduated university, my dad's business went bad. He boldly asked me to connect him to become our company's supplier. Even divorced, I raised you to 20, you can't even do a small thing. I don't care, your mom agreed, if you can't, talk to her. My mom wasn't like when I was young, now she looked more like a worrisome old lady. She'd blink and say, I don't understand, can't you do this little thing? Do it for mom, okay? Raising you wasn't easy, you can't be ungrateful. I asked her, why still deal with him? Forgot how he treated you? She still blinked, I don't hold grudges, why do you? Indeed, I'm not as carefree as her. She holds no grudges, nor remembers my good. A tear slid, I woke. The child was gone. Actually, when I first knew about the child, I hesitated. I thought being a child isn't happy, having a mom isn't happy. I wasn't sure if this child wanted to be born. Just like I'm unsure what mindset my mom had when she gave birth to me, if she expected my birth. And how she watched me stumble to marriageable age, then mercilessly ruined my wedding. My phone had many calls and messages, half from mom, half from Ethan. I ignored all, blocked them. My transfer application passed quickly. My plan was, if Ethan refused divorce, fine, separate. I had no remarriage plans, he couldn't stay single forever, he'd be the anxious one. As for property, we had prenup, nothing to divide. After discharge, to avoid them, I went to another city to recuperate, waiting to fly to Germany in a month. During this, I got my stepfather's call, hesitantly asking why I quarreled with mom. Did your mom anger you? I'll tell her, make her realize her mistake. But as an elder, I must say, your personality has issues too, of course, your mom's problem is bigger, but get to the point. The house we live in, water, electricity, property fees are due, uncle knows you're busy, so transfer the money to me, I'll pay. We can do this in the future. And, about your brother's job, I told your mom, why ask the son-in-law? This isn't looking down on you, uncle knows you have ways. Does mom know? Yes, she's beside. Soon, I heard mom's aggrieved voice, Sophia, why did you block me? Mom. My voice was cold, with sarcasm. How do you always find these rotten men so accurately? My mom cried. Do I even know I'm your mom? You're not as sensible as when young. You won't give money, ignore everything, block me, then have the guts to never call me mom. Okay, auntie. For some reason, saying auntie gave me a refreshing feeling like a stone on my chest shattered. I couldn't help calling it a few more times. She cursed under her breath and hung up. Then, I got my biological father's call. In his tone from years ago, he cursed, Rachel's reputation is ruined because of you, arrange a good job for her. George, in what capacity are you speaking to me? Bastard, I'm your dad. Idiot, hang up, block. Then I got a 911 call. Ethan, unable to find me, reported me missing. Police found me, I explained, refused to meet them. Police understood but advised, clarify any issues, that young man looks quite pitiful. So I added him back. His first words, Sophia, I was wrong. Second, I've handled your parents' matters. The stone in my chest returned. Ethan, you did it on purpose. His voice was weak, somewhat smug. What to do, Sophia? You can't repay what you owe me. I exhaled. I have 500,000, transfer to you. Ethan, whether enough or not, I have nothing else to repay you. I wanted to talk nicely, but he did this, as if holding some handle, smugly threatening me. He clearly looked down on my mom, knew I wanted to escape. But to keep me tied, he chose this disgusting way. He says he loves me, but even I, from a single-parent family, know this isn't how to love. How could he not know? He doesn't love me, just can't accept me leaving. He went crazy again. I don't want money, Sophia, I was wrong, come back to me. We'll redo the wedding, do whatever you want after. Even if I don't work, I'll stay home washing and cooking for you. I sighed. Don't sacrifice for me anymore, your sacrifices only move yourself. Now, the only thing you can do for me is divorce. Soon, the month arrived, I flew to Germany as planned, starting my long overseas life. During this, two things happened. 1, because I really ignored my mom, stepfather couldn't profit from her anymore, they divorced. Mom completely fell out with me, claiming to sever mother-daughter ties. Second, my dad went bankrupt. His goods were seized at the port, found with heaps of quality issues, owed suppliers a ton of debt, directly liquidated. By then, I had taken over the company's European business, busy beyond measure. When I heard the news, I had little reaction. Instead, my mom contacted me through hometown relatives, stammering, your dad's bankruptcy, you did it, right? To avenge me? Actually, I stopped blaming him long ago. Sophia, mom just wants you well, come home for New Year dinner? I knew her meaning, without my support, her hard days had truly come. But I politely refused. His bankruptcy has nothing to do with me, I stopped caring long ago. She let out a short ah. Also, I won't do anything for you anymore. Except basic alimony, figure out the rest yourself. Sophia, mom is old, why don't you feel sorry for me? Why so vengeful? It's all enmity, no need to remember. These two things led to the third. After Dad's bankruptcy, his remaining money was taken by Rachel and her mother. Two losers rekindled. My parents remarried. Mom contacted me again. Sophia, your dad and I thought, you became like this because we divorced when you were young. Now we're remarried, a complete family again, planning to make up for your missing love. If you're busy, buy us tickets to visit you. It was 4 a.m. German time, I had worked all night without sleep. My numb brain couldn't process this, when I realized I couldn't help a light laugh. Not sure if laughing at her or myself. Then hung up. No contact for life, until 20 years later after their deaths, I returned home. They lived in the apartment I bought, now bare walls. Relatives shook heads talking about them. Both crazy, quarreling daily, smashing things, when nothing left, even medicine bottles. No money anyway, smashed and couldn't buy more. Finally, the old man, in his last gasp, strangled the old woman. In my second year in Germany, I chatted calmly with Ethan. He said he could come accompany me, but I refused. He asked, "Do you still hate me?" I shook my head. He said, "No possibility in this life? You know, I won't wait forever." I knew. I looked at him, still as in memory. Anyway, he accompanied me through many lows, silently sacrificed much. He stood, "Then when you're free, let's divorce. Sorry about the wedding day." Outside, the sky was very blue. I knew my life had finally reached a new chapter.